virtual host. So Cheyenne could distinguish these two virtual hosts, domain and subdomain. We don't need that for the demo, just the default configuration will do. So you have here the root directory, like Apache and other web server. You just specify the root folder of the content you will serve. The default file, if you don't specify in the URL a file extension, just a path with a slash and even a slash, Cheyenne will use this file, this order, to match some content, if possible. Here is debug keyword. Ask Cheyenne to run the RSP engine in debug mode, which brings some nice menu inside the web page for debugging. And below we have a web app configuration using a virtual path and mapping this path to a root directory. So root folder that can be different from the one here. The web app here, container, lives his own life. Also, here we have the debug keyword to switch the engine in debug mode, and a command here, an option command that will ask Cheyenne to protect the web application and require authentication to access its content. And if not authenticate, it will redirect to this resource.
In which languages can you write a web app?
In
which languages?
RSP only.
Okay.
That's really specific for RSP.
But you made recently you made a part of the API available to CGI for Carl.
That's some low-level stuff. It's not related to the web application.
Okay, but could you make a web app available outside RSP, or is that impossible?
It's too specific to the engine which will generate the content. So we could have it in the configuration file with the same syntax, for example. But you have to re-implement it completely for another engine. So I'll start with this configuration, but I won't use demo 1, which is the fully working demo version. I will start with another version, which is demo 2, which contains no code. So the goal is to add the code to these simple templates to transform them in some dynamic pages and later in a fully working but very simple web application. So let's start. I just need this to start. I forgot to take my notebook. Thank you. Just for some notes to not get lost in the process. So, first, see what this is. We have a cities.html. Let's see it in the browser. I use, well, maybe I will use another browser. I will use Firefox. I'm using Chrome usually, that's my favorite browser, but for web programming and debugging, there's nothing better than Firebug. Maybe I should run the server before. That could help. So.
Because of the error messages shown in Firebug.
Yes, Firebug is great for debugging. So when Cheyenne runs on Windows, it adds a small icon here with a little display message showing the version number, port in which is run, and a small menu here enabling to switch in one click in service mode. It's just one click, but it does a lot of things behind. So it's really cool. And you have also the option here for reloading the configuration file live without restarting the server, and resetting the workers. Resetting the workers means asking Cheyenne to shut down all worker process and launching new ones. This is useful because of caches and code, library code that may stay in memory and won't get reloaded sometimes. So sometimes you have to just flush the processes to be able to debug your code.
Is there a way to do that from the command line? There's this
Yes.
signal for reloading the configuration.
Yes, on Unix you have the same features, except the run as service, which is not required on Unix. Using signals, you just send signals using kill command on the command line on the main process, and you send 2 signals for the same features.
I know the one for reloading the config, but what is the one for resetting the workers?
I think it is the USR1.
Ah,
I don't remember the number, but the name is USR1.
Is that in the changelog somewhere? Or?
It's in the changelog, yes.
It's something like shouting lunch or something.
Excuse me, the shouting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cheyenne is running here. Okay, he produces a log file here, which is a debug log file, and in the log directory is here. We'll have all the access HTTP logs. So let's see how this template page looks like. Localhost should be demo2, and it was cities.html. Okay, we'll remove Firebug for now. So what the demo is about, I took something very, very, very simple. A page with an input field where we are asking the user from which city is coming from. But the interesting part is that we will produce not a complete field by proposing some matches from what the user is typing. So for now we just have HTML and JavaScript. So nothing happens when I type in the field. I should have something appearing below to show me a list of European cities that match my input. So let's try to make this working first. What's required? So I have a very simple HTML code with embedded CSS. I'm loading jQuery to make the JavaScript shorter. I have some already written JavaScript code for sending an AJAX request on this server resource, asking for a list of cities to update. And for the HTML part, I'm using a simple trick to avoid using a complex component for auto-completion. I just use a select field below the input that's currently hidden and will get displayed when the server will send back some useful list of cities.
How much is left?
Maybe
20.
20% each week.
Do we have time or?
Well,
Yeah,
because
if you want to catch your announcement on tape, you have to,
Okay.
you have to hurry a bit.
Okay, so we'll just do the first part, which is making this work. So what we need to submit this form, and on key up we call this JavaScript function update which asks for this RSP code. So we try to build first this RSP page. So I'll open a new empty page and we'll save it directly here with the right name. And what we need in this page, we have an input begin parameter with the typed character. So first thing, we will validate the input. So to validate the input in RSP, I just use a function from the API which checks for a list of parameters with type description to see if they're present or not in the request. They can be passed through get as get parameters or as post data without differences. So begin, and I get in past a string, which I cannot like that. I want to make it mandatory. I will add a full refinement and add a star here indicating that I want it to be mandatory, and I will get some output from that function. If it fails, I'll get a list of invalid parameters. So I will test for that later. I need to catch it. And I'll just test for the right case. No, I will do both. So we'll test if it's invalid, and we'll produce some content, and we'll test also if it's valid. So what we need to produce? We need to produce a JSON content, and this JSON content has to be a list of cities. The list of cities is here in the resources folder. I've used a list from Wikipedia, so I've copied a list of cities in HTML. Then I have to extract the name of these cities. So I use a bit of rebel code here, using a parse rule to make an extraction, but we don't have time to go into details of this parse rule, but it shows how simple and straightforward it is to write and compared to regx, for example. So I've extracted that list and produced another file which contains a mix of city names from whole Europe. In fact, it's limited to 3 countries: France, I think it's Dutchland, and the Netherlands.
But this is the same list, but not in HTML.
Yes, this is the result of the parsing. Sorry. the result of this parsing function, which produces this
Ja, precies.
this,
Daarom denk ik dat het
this list of cities extracted from the HTML. So we will work with this cities list. So let's load it. So I will load it with read lines. We have this read lines. The lines refinement will split the input file on each line break. So I get in return here, as a result, I get a list of strings containing the name of each cities. Now I need to return something. So here I'm in the false case. So the error case, I will return something. I need to return JSON. So first thing is to call a converter function for JSON code. This function comes from this library that I indicate in the configuration file that will convert any rebel structure to JSON format. I will pass it an object. Maybe I will write it this way to make it more readable for everyone. And I need to pass here. So the received JSON has a list member which contains all the city list. So I'll pass first a state parameter indicating if it's an error or not, and a list here that will contain this value. So here, to avoid the clash of names, I will just change this one to cities. Okay. Oh, sorry, this is the error state. Just that. And now the right state. So we will pass an OK on state, and for list, the list of cities. Okay, that should work. Let's make it a bit more rebellish. So we will factorize the JSON converter here, because everything in rebel returns a value. So I will just remove this one. Okay, so I have JSON here as output, but I need to output it in the response buffer stream. So I will do that using a print statement. Print
without T.
Without T.
Okay.
Print statement which will just output the value, the pass value, and serialize value in the response buffer. The print without T just means don't add a line field at the end.
It's a bit of a Carl idiosyncrasy.
Exactly. But I'm used to it now and use it.
I guess Carl knows about Peter. This T compiler.
So this should work, but as this is JSON content, it will be more appropriate to add some content type, right content type, because if I send back this response like that, Cheyenne will just add text HTML content type, and this may not work with JavaScript clients. So we will just specify content type. I think it's application authentication/JSON.
I believe Graham had that problem last month.
That's possible. So what do? We just read the list of cities with testing if the past argument is valid or not. If it's not valid, we just return JSON error. If it's okay, we return just the full list without doing any filtering. Let's try that to see if this works or not. It's not working. That's where Firebug comes. Oh yes, it's working. But I just have the full list without any filtering. So now let's add some filtering. Using Rebel, that shouldn't be very complicated. We'll write it this way. I will just put the validation code before. Okay. Validation. I'm reading the city list. So now let's match the cities using a new list. Putting the matched items on a new list. Let's call it matched, and we want it to be a block. Let's say 10 in size. Rebel will adapt the size of the block automatically, but I will just reserve 10 spaces in the block. Then I will just iterate through the cities. Oh, we got hotkey. Let's just test if each cities correspond to the pattern that was sent. So I will access this request parameter through the request object /content/ the name of the parameter. Okay, that should work. And if it's okay, if it matches, let's add it to the new list. That's nice.
So that is the list which corresponds to your input.
Absolutely, that's the filtered list. So let's do something else. We'd like this sublist, this filtered list, to be sorted also. In Rebel, that's not very complicated. Okay, it's done. The list is now sorted.
And if you want, for example, you want first to select on cities.
The first?
If you want to select on cities and afterwards on streets, like in Google Maps and such.
You just have to add more code and a list of streets that correspond to the city, but you'll have to put it in a database because the list of cities cross the list of streets will make a lot of data. So you need to put it in the database to have fast lookup.
Yeah, because I ask it because I wonder, you don't have to make one big list, but one list of cities, and if you have selected the right city, then
yes,
you have to list of streets.
No problem. That could be done very easily with a few lines more of code. But you just need to prepare the data before in a database, because you will need something very fast for that. Okay, let's try it to see if it works. Okay, I'm just reloading, but it wasn't necessary. Oh, great. It's sorted, but not working. So, something wrong, which is easily guessable. It's a typo, sorry. It's not cities anymore, it's matched. So now, Ta-da!
Okay.
So
Close.
now it
Oh.
works.
I missed the question.
So let's try and bound. Ah, there's no bound. Amsterdam.
Could you move on to your announcements? So
Sure.
so we still get that on tape.
Okay. So I'm just. Okay. I run it directly.
Because we want to hold you to it.
Okay. Let's do it. I will pass the first screen, which is the same as the scene before, and enter the hot stuff directly. So this new project, before talking about the new project, just a few things about how I get there. First, why I'm using Rebel since almost 11 years, because it's a great, as you all know it, is a great scripting language. It's a fantastic prototyping tool. I never found any other tool allowing me to be so productive and so fast at prototyping ideas than Rebel. That's one of his greatest things. He has a nice and simple cross-platform graphic engine called Vue. It's a fantastic symbolic and meta-programming tool. And a consequence of this is that it has this fantastic feature coming from the Lisp family, the code-data duality. Code and data are the same thing in Rebel. That's called S expression, I think, in Lisp. And it's also DSL oriented, which is in fact called dialects in Rebel. That's one of its very innovative features, very interesting. And of course, last but not the least, Rebel has a great designer. But I don't want to use Rebel anymore. Why that? Ouch, this one is hard, it's closed source. That wasn't a big deal at the beginning, but after a couple of years, it started to be a really annoying feature, annoying thing. And after 7, 8 years, it started to be really a big problem. So I've put it on the first one. Second problem, slowness. Rebel is interpreted, it's not compiled. That's a big problem on a lot of things. If you do simple scripting and throw away scripts and batch files, such thing, it's not a problem. But computing and programming is not just about that, like we've seen in the OpenGL demo of Boron. We want to do also things that need a lot of computations, and for that Rebel is really bad. I'm not sure this link is working, okay. But there's some benchmark on the internet where Rebel is showing very bad performance at pure calculation.
It's twice as fast as Ruby.
In this benchmark, which is from the great language shootout, it's about 10 times slower and about 900 times slower than the best program written in C.
100 times slower than Ruby?
No, 10 times.
10 times. So
About 10 times slower than Ruby, but the benchmark, which is the embodiment benchmark of the great language shootout, is about just pure computation, so only calculation, only maths.
Number crunching.
Only maths. And this is something where Rebel is really, really slow. No multi-threading support, we've seen already that. It's mostly a glue language. It's a fantastic glue language, but just that. It's not, for me, general purpose enough anymore. I need more than that. I need a tool that will allow me to build anything, not just simple scripts. You can't embed it in